Hey, this is Bethany with Morgan James Publishing, and today I'm speaking with our author, Chris Gazdik. And Chris is the author of Through a Therapist's Eyes, Re-Understanding Emotions and Becoming Your Best Self. Hi, Chris, how are you?
Hey there, Bethany. It's nice to be here. Thanks.
Oh, it's so nice to have you here. I'm so excited to ask you some questions about your book. Within Through a Therapist's Eyes, individuals find coveted secrets to manage their mental health as forged uniquely from the eyes of a therapist. So, Chris, what a fascinating topic and what a fascinating title. Could you tell us what the title Through a Therapist's Eyes really means?
Absolutely. And before I do, I really want to say, I'm a sentimental guy, and it's a big honor to be here. Like to be with Morgan James, I find it to be a pretty esteemed group. I've been toiling in this journey of creating the book and going about it, and the help that Morgan James has done. I mean, you guys are awesome. So I want to stroke your ego a little bit, just to say, like, I really appreciate all that's gone on so far. It's truly an honor to be here, really, and I mean that.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Chris. We really view our publishing relationships with our authors as partnerships, and it's been a true pleasure to work with you and come alongside you through this publishing process. And I know that your book is going to help so many individuals. So thank you for that, and we are truly honored to be your publisher.
That is the hope, and that's, I think that's one of the things I like about the way that we operate. Even saying we is kind of like, wow, like really, because it is a group, and I function well and thrive well in groups. And that's why, going to your question, through a therapist's eyes, what does it mean? I mean, I really do have this burning passion to really see. I waited for this for a long time, right? I've been doing therapy now for 20, 25 years or so, pushing 30 in whatever form and fashion. And for a long time, I found that I was saying very similar things, like everybody's story is unique. And I would say these things about, in real therapy moments. And so I cannot tell you how humbling it is to be somebody's therapist. It really, like that is a big deal when somebody comes in and shares, any part of their story in their life with somebody that's really a stranger. Like, I do not take that lightly. And so the whole idea was kind of born in my head. I mean, this creepy eye, right? Like, through a therapist's eyes was my thought to kind of, encompass all of these experiences and all of these different stories, not to reveal the people, because I take confidentiality and all of that honor of having their stories very seriously, but to encompass all of that through what I've experienced with people through depression and anxiety and marriage problems and substance abuse, addiction, having children with addictions. It's all of that. There is so much experience that has just been going on back here, that if you bring it through, and I can bring any of that through my eyes as a therapist, to make an imprint on the world, to advocate for the things that we're dealing with mental health and substance abuse, that if that happens for one person, and scaling it, that's what it's really all about for me, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine, people maybe coming to see a therapist might feel like, they are so alone in their situation and their circumstance might be so unique. But, you being in your position, having talked with so many different individuals, likely see a lot of maybe similarities or patterns and might have a lot to offer to readers who may be just interested in looking at things through the lens of a therapist's and offering
Absolutely.
that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what I wanted to create with this project. To me, it is a whole platform, through a therapist's eyes. We have a podcast to check out. This book is a part of that. And I waited, as I said, for years to kind of launch. That's one of the things I think I said in here in the intro. I mean, like, let's launch. Like, I'm ready to launch, to get these things out, because we're all, you said it exactly, Bethany. I mean, nail on the head. People are feeling lonely out there. And that's even emphasized with 2020. But I think people are feeling lonely out there way long before that, and certainly will be moving forward. And so if this can make a connection with anybody, because these are real life therapy moments, to kind of reach out through a different venue and make a connection with somebody just through a book. There are 32 chapters or whatever in there that are very specific therapy moments. That's almost like a reference guide in a different way than is self-help. I mean, it's not really like a, hey, read this and you're going to figure it, the whole schema of life out. But it's direct tips, direct real moments, because people are feeling terribly lonely out there and feel, like they're crazy. I can't tell you how many times I hear people say that, like, I just feel crazy. It's something wrong with me. And I'm like, okay, well, let's figure out what's going on, because you're not crazy and you're not alone.
Mm.
And so if we can connect in some way through a written text or a podcast or a Facebook post, boom, like this whole platform, to me, you can tell. I sorry, I get a little passionate thinking about what the potential is for, for guiding a lot of people with it.
Mm. Amazing. Wow. Well, it really seems like you are really the right person bringing this message to readers at the right time, which is such a key thing that we look for with authors that we publish. So, and I imagine that this must all really tie into a lot of the purpose of your work. What is the purpose of your work, Chris?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, my co-host on my podcast show kind of drives that at me, and the guy who works to kind of publish the shows and stuff. What are we doing here, Chris? And I'm like, to me, it's simple. It's blowing up stigmas, stereotypes, and myths while we try to disseminate information out about mental health and substance abuse, right? Like, so Bethany, for so long, mental health is like the redheaded stepchild of healthcare, dude. Like, it wasn't even long ago where if you have an insurance policy, you can't even go and get therapy. They serve medical needs, see your doctor, get surgeries, whatever. And then they would come to my office and we'd be like, I'm sorry, you know what? Your product line for insurance doesn't even cover therapy. Now I'm kind of a young person, not too long ago. And to me, blowing up myths and stereotypes, like I have a speaking engagement that I want to really start making a part of our platform too, called the methodical management of mental health. And a big part of what I want that talk to be is really to kind of hammer through the myths and stereotypes that people have that, oh, I don't have any of that mental health stuff. It's all those other crazy people over there. Listen, Bethany, do you know anybody in your life, literally, that is not managing mental health realities? Right?
Right.
I mean, your mom is, you're a little kid, but you kind of figure out when we all grow up, oh my gosh, my mom and dad are dealing with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Your husband is, your wife is, your neighbor is, you are, I am. We're all dealing with these things. And so I just thought these components that I incorporated in a written text, can give a little bit of guidance towards some of those things, real therapy moments that real people experience and that we can share.
Absolutely. And I think deconstructing that stigma is so important. And this is
Right.
an amazing resource to help do that. Could you talk maybe a little bit about some of the myths that people might have surrounding therapy?
Oh, okay. Well, therapy. I thought you were going to go mental health.
Or mental health works as well.
Yeah, no, you spun me. No, I like that because, yeah, right. I can use this moment to break down a little bit of a myth about going to a therapy person in the first place, because it breaks my heart when I'm working with somebody and it's an initial assessment. They've never seen a therapist before, and they come in and they're kind of stressed and struggling with whatever the main point of focus might be there. And I identify with them. They've been dealing with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. We've all heard of it. No one thinks that they have it until it's like blatantly obvious. Anyway, when I sit down with that somebody who's 45, 47 years old, and they've lived an entire life, dealing with this and not really even knowing it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, if we can break that down and realize going to a therapist is really pretty simple. It's not very complicated. It's very easy, actually. But in contrast to that, I recognize it's so scary, so intimidating, so overwhelming. So, like, people don't want to do that until they like absolutely have to for whatever internal reason says they need to. So I guess what comes to my mind, Bethany, to answer your question is it's really an absolute worthwhile venue, a safe environment to be able to talk about. I mean, imagine this, right? A safe environment to be able to talk about anything that needs to be talked about, and you're not judged, and you're not, it's not used against you, it's not turned against you. Like, you know young therapists I train, I like to blow this myth as well. And so here's another one. Like, you know a young therapist honestly doesn't understand the value of what happens in a therapy session. Like, you and I are having a conversation right now, and you might be saying, okay, I can't wait till he stops talking because I have a thought and I want to get this thought out. And then you start talking, and I'm like, okay, well, Bethany's talking, but I forgot to say this and I want to say this. Right. And we do that back and forth. We're really just both messengers.
Mm-hmm.
But in a therapy experience, I'm really going, my full focus is on what you're thinking, what you're experiencing. We're looking at that, and I'll go with where you go. That may be the very first time anybody's ever had a full conversation like that for like 50 minutes. That's powerful.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, yeah, and I hope that this resource really helps kind of break down that barrier to entry that somebody might be feeling, whether it be emotionally or mentally, or they're afraid of judgment, or they feel shame for it for some reason.
Absolutely.
Not be something that people feel shamed for exploring, or even needing, or using as a way to enhance their life, even not just find solutions to problems that they're facing. So what would you say that you really hope to accomplish? Because you mentioned there's a platform here with Through a Therapist's Eyes. It's not necessarily just the book. So what are you hoping to accomplish with your platform and your message overall?
You just gave me the answer, right? You totally just, I would just ditto what Bethany said. you know, because really it's about that. I mean, if we can make a dent, a significant dent across the nation, and honestly, I kind of, somewhat naively maybe, but I think big across the world, if we can make a dent in the level of shame that people feel, about reaching out for help and kind of dealing with these things, and not even, as you just pointed out perfectly, man, uh, you pointed out, like, not just to deal with a mental health diagnosis. How about just a mental health experience? Like I said, you just nailed it, because we all have these experiences. You can look at it as enhancements. 32, enhancements in your life. I should have renamed the book, right? We need to talk to those guys, right? Enhancements of your life dealing with mental health, because we all feel it. We all feel lonely at times. We all feel sad sometimes. I was talking to Mr. Dutta on our platform, Through a Therapist's Eyes, the podcast that we do. And Tom's an amazing dude. He's with Morgan James, and we have a lot of common themes, he and I, in our work. He wants to lift the veil and stigma of mental health. And he says, it needs to be okay to say when you're not okay. It doesn't just need to be okay to say when you have a mental health diagnosis of schizophrenia. Yeah, we need to take a hit into the shame-based thing that impedes people from getting well or reaching out, and with all sorts of things like that. But how about just insecurities? I've got them.
Yeah, we all
A
do.
lot of them,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And but we tend to just want to suppress them.
Sure.
We tend to want to just push them aside and move on, hide from them when they, our feelings pop out, instead of just laying it out and dealing with it. if this platform of Through a Therapist's Eyes, Bethany, can be a part of moving us to where I think we're going to be soon, where it's this is crazy to me. Follow me for a second.
Let's go.
you you go to your doctor, right?
Yeah.
You have a family physician.
Right.
They track your blood pressure.
Right.
You know, they get to know you. They have a relationship with you, and they begin to tell you, this is what I get now, Bethany, honestly, you know, Chris, you know, at your age, you need to do this screen. I'm like, oh God, what do you mean at my age? What does that mean? But the point is, it's a relationship with the medical doctor over a long period of time that he guides me in my health. Why we don't have that with a mental health clinician is totally beyond me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we're moving towards that, so that you will have a general mental health practitioner in your healthcare offices. And it's exciting to me that we're already seeing those being sprinkled in various medical groups across the country. So I predict and believe and hope part of what I want this platform to be a part of getting us moved towards, bottom line, that we deal with our mental health stuff, maybe as routinely as a mental health checkup. People love to say, I just get a checkup from the neck up, right?
Great.
You know, if I knew somebody when I was 25 years old that was I could go to and check in with my mental health, and I didn't see him but once a year, and I'm 32 years old, and suddenly I have a child, I just became a parent. It would be super, super cool to have that person who kind of already knows me, that I could just check in with. Yeah. So the whole of Through a Therapist's Eyes, to get back to your question, I told you I can ramble, is guiding us, you know, being a part of breaking the stigmas and the shame points and the doubts and the fears that we have about therapy, mental health, feelings, and emotions.
Amazing. Wow. Well, I feel like so many people are going to get so much wisdom and value from what you provide in your book. And if people want to learn more about you or about your work, what's the best place for them to find you or connect with you online?
Please don't ask anybody in my immediate family. You'll get a bad story. Just got a joke. I got jokes. We do have a website, throughatherapist'seyes.com. On there, we have our podcast. You have it's really developing into being a really cool book, or a book. I guess we're talking about the book platform in website. That's what I was trying to say. Throughatherapist'seyes.com, because we got all of the books that we've ever had authors on our show are going to be listed on there, and we got awesome topics that we cover with the show on, you know, anxiety, depression, you know, mental health, substance abuse related things, parenting. You know, we have 4 core kind of things that we really kind of hit and try to stay in that venue: parenting, marriage and family, mood, mental health, and then substance abuse, right? And so I don't know, I guess this is where I suck at the marketing piece. I guess we got Facebook and Instagram, and I don't know, we don't do TikTok or, you know, these weird things, you know, wherever you find books.
Sure. Amazing. Well, the book will be available through all of the you know, your favorite, you know, retailer. So, but if someone wants to come, you know, directly to your site, that'd be throughatherapist'seyes.com, which is great. It's the title of the book. So,
Yeah.
Amazing, Chris. Well, any final words today? Anything that you would say to somebody who you know, is learning about you or your message for the first time? You know, what would you like to say to anyone watching today to kind of close us out today?
You know, I start out every show that we do on Through a Therapist's Eyes with this phrase. I can't just leave it at this phrase, though, right? The phrase that I always say is, let's figure this thing out together. The human emotional experience, right? And so I can't just leave it at that. I gotta say, you know what? Let's go on a journey together. I have ideas. The next book I want to kind of go at is with marriage. You know, marriage issues. This is the self, and it's partly designed by God at the top of the list. You know, if religion and God is not in your life, that's fine. You know, the self is then at the top of the list. So God's self, then your spouse, then your kids, then your family and friends and work, and kind of in that order. And so I wanted to create these writing projects in that order, actually, right? So I guess, Bethany, I would say, let's go on a journey together. Let's go out into the world together, figuring this thing out, because we all have it. We're all dealing with it. We do know some things about it, it being mental health and feelings and emotions and those types of issues. So I guess I'll bookend it with the human emotional experience. Let's figure this thing out together.
Amazing. Well, Chris, thank you so much for spending some time today talking with me about your book and about your message. There is so clear that you really have a heart for helping people navigate this realm, and we're just so excited to see this book available to readers everywhere. So, thank you for your time today.
Thank you again to the whole Morgan James group. So far, you guys have been awesome.
Amazing. Well, we are so honored, and thanks for your time, and have a great rest of your day.